still all about our women of wonder on today's Women's Month inspired Afternoon Express Masterclass with me, Balisa Tembe. Radio and TV presenter and cookbook curator Ingrid Jones is in the kitchen to help us prepare traditional Malay sisters, give our bread a botanical infusion, and lamb chops with green beans, feta, and mint. Now, as we are speaking about Ingrid, from publishing numerous magazines to being the founder and director of her own media company, and now curating a lockdown recipe book. Welcome, Ingrid Jones.
Gosh, I wish I was as upbeat as you are. I need to up my game. But I see at least we got the dress code today.
At least we're matching. But one thing that I'm so excited to talk to you about and touch base with you about is just your journey. It's truly been remarkable. And I think that so many South Africans can draw inspiration from it. So let's rewind. Let's go all the way to the top of your story, where you co-founded a fully all-black women-owned media company. Can you just tell us a little about that work?
I started off as a teacher. And then started writing and wasn't too bad at it. And then I left teaching, and then I joined a radio station, and then I did a little bit of TV on the side, and someone said to me, but why don't you come and work at a magazine company? Which I then did, stayed there for about 8-9 years. Then the few black women at the company knew that we were not going to go any further than this. Someone has to die for us to go further up the ladder, which wasn't anytime soon. So the three of us decided, because we were already quite senior at the time, to take a stab at the thing called a media company, because by then we kind of knew the ropes. The argument for us always was about a legacy, and we can do it. And also we had the know-how to start. So we were 3 in the beginning. One since left, just way younger than us, so I understand, the millennials move on. And so it's now 12 years later, and can you believe that we are still around? We are still female-dominated at the moment, but there are a few males in the company. And we have done from SAA's magazine, Mango, the in-flights. We had 3 in-flights. We have over and above the lockdown recipe storytelling book, we've got another magazine that was inspired by this called Kusister.
We've seen print media slowly dying. We've seen a rise in social media and just this technological revolution. How do you keep up?
Look, you have to. I wake up at 4 in the morning. I am wide awake by 5, where I kind of scan the environment in terms of what is happening. I try and allow is the wrong word, but for lack of a better word, to be the people who work for Mikateko Media, allow them to be the best that they are and can be. So I do believe that your staff have to be better than you, because in the end they make you look particularly good. But you have to employ the best, and then you can get the best out of them. And lockdown has also taught me that all of that investment of 10 years, 11 years, now we can literally sit wherever we are in the world, and no one needs to supervise anyone. People just get on with their jobs. And you said there that magazines are struggling, and who, for example, launches a magazine in the middle of lockdown? We did, and it was quite successful. We are on issue 4.
Right now, when looking back and where we are in 2021, transformation in certain industries, are you happy with what you see?
It is a question that comes up every year. And I have this year decided I'm not going to answer or talk about that question anymore, because it literally asks of us, my particular generation, to do exactly what you have been saying. So if the doors are not open and the ceiling is intact, you literally have to kick it open.
I'm telling you.
You have to smash through the glass ceiling. And if you don't do it for you, or you get it right for you, you can understand that there will be more than us in the generation after me. You guys are, the next generation. Can you imagine 10 years ago, you and I sitting like this in the studio and having a chit-chat about a cookbook? Not at all. So do I see it as if I have had a part to play in that? Absolutely. But I cannot say this with a massive egotistical crown on my head, because there were so many of us. The thing for me is just that mine plays out in a media space. But change is literally driven by ordinary people making extraordinary choices. And that's the stuff that we don't see. We just are able to highlight what ordinary people are doing.
I love the fact that you went in that direction with your answer, because I think that so many people kind of shift the responsibility, shift the blame to the older generations being able to pave the path for us to walk in the excellence. But I love the fact that you're challenging all the South Africans out there to do it for yourself. And that is exactly what you did when it comes to your cookbook. I'm so excited to talk about this, honey, because listen, during lockdown, I struggled. I ran out of ideas. I've got no clue what to cook. I feel like fast food. So please may you take me through the inspiration and just the process of being able to put together a cookbook of inspiration.
Look, it is probably, I'm not a good cook. I can do a few things fairly well, but I'm good at curating. So I can curate a beautiful table with other people's dishes on top of it, lovely. And so I can make a few things. And so during lockdown, as we were sitting there, like you said, and I started seeing people cooking, and as I watched trends, and I saw this thing happening, and banana loaves were the thing at the time.
I tried it.
Oh, did you? Was it good?
I did muffins, and it was delicious.
Just muffins, nothing extra in it. Okay.
I love you, Ingrid.
Anyway, and then people started baking. And I asked stupidly one day on Facebook, because I use my platforms quite wisely, would people be interested in seeing the heritage food stories of, more specifically, Black people?
Yeah.
And Black, for me, I need to qualify, because you look at me and then people are like, oh, but you're not Black. I speak Black from a political perspective, so it's all of us within the spectrum. And so people started answering, yes, I'm in. And it wasn't just in my frame of mind that says, okay, Black heritage and so on. Everyone responded to it from the South African diverse spectrum.
Yeah.
And then I was put on the spot, so what am I going to do about it? And then I thought, well, I work in the media space. I said, well, guys, why don't we just do a book? So this is curated by me, not done by me. There are fantastic women in there, not just women, males, and everyone contributing. And it became less about the food, but more about what's the story behind this dish. Because a koesister is a koesister is a koesister, and a green bean stew is a green bean stew is a green bean stew. What is it that inspired your matriarch or patriarch to bring that dish to a level where, you know, an auntie will say, but I literally make the best green bean stew.
The Lockdown Recipe Storytelling book is a must-have, and you could win yourself a copy of Ingrid Jones's book. If you want to try any of these recipes, all you have to do is answer the question: how would you describe your lockdown experience in one recipe? Share your answers on the Afternoon Express Facebook page. T's and C's can be found on afternoonexpress.co.za. Competition closes at 12 p.m. Monday, the 16th of August. Thank you.
That's such a beautiful conversation, Balisa. But today is a masterclass, so I think it is only fair that you guys come on over to the kitchen. Bali, Ingrid, please come join me. Let's get this masterclass started, Bali. There's a beautiful recipe that I know you will definitely love, Balisa, because it focuses on the koesister that Ingrid was talking about.
I'm very excited about that. Now, Ingrid, we finished talking now, so now it's time to get dirty. Are you ready?
No.
Well, let's make sure you're ready. You pop on that Afternoon Express apron and let's get cooking. Now, these old-time favorites have a way of putting a smile on everyone's face. And one such treat is the delectably mesmerizing koesister, glazed in a delicious syrup, then covered in a generous mound of desiccated coconut. This treat sure does sound yummy. And I believe that this recipe, doesn't it feature in your cookbook?
It does, and it's also the name of the magazine. And it was why it is. It's a very important thing in South African history, because you get a koeksister and a koesister. So a koeksister is that like a plat, and it's very sweet. And then the koesister is like a vetkoek that you've dumped in some sugary syrup, and then you put it in coconut. And it's not a koeksister, the k was dropped.
So it's a koesister.
Ah.
So that's the political statement right there. You drop the K, and you don't have to even explain what it means. It is about the Cape heritage, and the proud dish of the Malay people.
Well, I'm so excited. Let's get cooking. Tumi, what do we need to put this together? My smile is from ear to ear. I'm so excited to start.
I can see, Palace. And what we need for that, we're going to make the dough on my side, which involves the flour. We've got some melted butter, yeast. We've got some sugar, an array of spices that actually make it so signature, because I know itombolo or vet cook doesn't have this many flavors in it. But then one thing specific is we also have some naartjie peel powder that we've got in here, which comes from these naartjie peels that have been dried and then ground, exactly, and this goes in there. And then you, Ingrid, you've got the joy of making the syrup for us. That's going to be where these Koo sisters are going to be dunked in. And then, Pali, you're just going to mash up some potatoes for me that go into this dough
so
as well.
we get to make the stuff that makes us not look like idiots.
You know, the simple stuff. That's all we're going to say, the simple stuff. I'm excited to get started with this because I do love a good cook sister, and I also do love a good vet cook. And this is something in between all the above. So, Tumi, why the mashed potato, though?
Well, that's actually something I wanted to ask Ingrid about, because I know that when you're making all these other doughs that are similar to this, you wouldn't really add potatoes. So what would be the reason for adding the mashed potato into a Koo sister?
Why are you asking? Questions to people who can
Because at the end of the day, Ingrid is quite proudly the curator of the book.
Can we be clear? Can we be clear? I have no idea why they put potato in there. That's why the two of you are here. You are the specialist. Do you know?
Yes. I'd like to believe, Balisa, the reason for it being added into this, to add that fluffiness to it, Balisa, because there is some density that comes with this recipe. So just adding that fluffiness into the dish. But if I am incorrect,
makes sense. That makes sense.
Let us know on Afternoon Express what the exact reason is for the potatoes being added into there, because it adds some body to the actual recipe. So into this, Balisa, I've mixed all our dry ingredients. I've sifted the flour beforehand. I've added some aniseed, which is very signature to this as well. There's also some ground cardamom, and all the dry ingredients come together here. And into this, to obviously bind the mixture together, I'm going in with some lukewarm water. We always say this, that if you're going to be working with this kind of dough, the liquid has to be warm, lukewarm, and not hot, because the heat kills the yeast, and we don't want that.
And what's that again? The butter?
This is the melted butter, yes. So if you'd like to, you could also use an oil. I think the butter is great because of that richness that it adds, as well as the addition of the egg.
And it's not ramen, It's butter.
It is butter. It is full-on butter that is nicely enriched. And I'm going to add this slowly into our dry ingredients and just fully incorporate it to a beautiful dough. And as usual, it has to rest for some time. So I'm going to get all of that started from my side.
As someone who is a curator, you've pretty much set the standard in the industry, and I think that so many of us get drawn not only to your work but even to your social media platforms, because it just seems like you live your life out loud. You're all about inspiring the next generation, saying, hey, I did it, you can do it even better. So for those that are trying to follow in your footsteps, no pressure, but what advice, tips, tricks, especially when it comes to print media, magazines, cookbooks alike, what advice would you give people like that?
Okay, so let me look into a camera to tell the nation. You need to firstly get your butt on a chair. That's what you have to do. It's about elbow grease. I've discovered I can't write anymore. It's so ugly, but type it up. If it's a cookbook, there are so many cookbooks out there, and we talk about a USP. So what is a USP? A USP is a unique selling point. What will make your book very different to someone else's book, and what will make it the bestseller, seeing that there are so many of it out there. If you are curating, for example, like me, and you want your friends' recipes in it, or your grandparents, or you can literally choose anything. But it has to be, again, go back to the point that says it's a USP. What is the unique selling point? Because if there's none, it's again like a groenboentjie beredi. It's all the same. Something is cooking, people. It's
Lovely stuff.
That is how into the motivation she is. We are cooking, let me remind you, Ingrid, but I think that information and...
It's also true for any book. It doesn't matter. Any book. Get your behind on a chair, do it, and then don't show it to your best friends. They're just going to tell you you're cute.
Yeah,
take it to someone who would be a little bit more critical, and... so that you get valuable information. And there's no such thing as failure. There's no feedback. You use feedback not to feel like a failure, but to get to the next step. Yeah.
Well, as we are elevating here in the kitchen, we're also trying to elevate your flavor, your taste buds, and your skills in the kitchen. So, Domi, it seems as if we're almost about done.
We're almost about done, Balisa. So what I did is I added the mixture here, that this mixture needs to rest for a bit. I'm going to need to go in and knead it and do all of that muscle grease, all that work. But Balisa, magic in the kitchen. I had some that were already made a little earlier. It's been rested. We rested it for about an hour, let it proof. And then after that, I then went and formed them into, I hope this is the right shape. Please let me know if I'm correct.
No, you're right.
All right, perfect.
Wow.
So we then dunk them in here, let them fry until nice and crispy. Once done, we're then going to soak them in this beautiful syrup here, toss them in some of our desiccated coconut, and that's it, Balisa. So I'm just going to continue cooking these until they're, in essence, cooked through.
Beautiful. So it seems as if this is, as we always say, a labor of love. Nothing is an overnight success. As much as Dumi is still kneading in that dough, you already saw the finished product. When it comes together perfectly, binding all those flavors, we're celebrating flavors, we're celebrating different aromatics, and we're celebrating African women. We hope we've inspired you to bring out those aprons and get cooking. To get this recipe, just head over to afternoonexpress.co.za for the full ingredients list. Ingrid's Lockdown Cookbook is sure to open up some interesting recipes, and we have one such recipe coming up as we're creating a botanical focaccia painting. Stick around.
Express yourself.
Afternoon Express with our guest, Ingrid Jones. Now, she's a curator of an iconic cookbook that I think all South Africans need, right?
Of course.
Thumbs up, Dumi.
Thumbs up.
Okay. You don't need to be a Picasso to let your own creative juices flow. Start with Clover Good Hope soy milk, dairy-free bread, and head over to your fridge or garden for some botanical inspiration. Then unleash your inner artist. Now, Dumi, that just sounds like a code I need to debunk. Help me understand it, girl.
I want to understand it, but I'm kind of sad that I get to do the work and you guys get to have fun, because all I'll be doing is making the bread, which is the base. Yes, it is interesting, it's beautiful, and you guys get to decorate it, Balisa. You guys need to bring out that inner child of yours and just make art in the plate.
Someone needs to do the, lay the foundation.
True. Let me start with that foundation, Balisa. For this beautiful foundation for our botanical focaccia, we've got some flour, we've got some yeast, some sugar and salt, which are always necessary whenever you're trying to make a bread-like recipe. We've got some olive oil, and we've got the binding agent over here, our beautiful Clover Good Hope soy milk. It is dairy-free, Balisa, so if you want to have something that doesn't have that dairy in it, lactose intolerant, this is perfect for you. You can definitely use it, but like we always say, if you're making a bread recipe, the liquid has to be lukewarm. So I'm just going to add a bit of it into our saucepan here and just make sure it warms up to a lukewarm temperature, just below body temperature.
Wow, love that. Dumi, whilst you are heating up that delicious Clover Good Hope soy milk, one thing that I love about it is that it's good for all the above. It's good for cooking, it's good for baking, and it's also good for recipes like this. So I'm so glad you added that to the mixture.
Exactly, Balisa. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start working into our dough, but I start with our dry ingredients, which is our yeast, my salt and sugar, because we always know, remember when Chef Chart was here, he reminded us that we should never let the salt and the yeast mix. So I'm going to put the salt on the very side here, and then the sugar can go right on top.
Dumi, this is a masterclass for a reason. Ingrid is like, are you learning a little something?
What is happening here?
And then into the pulse, I'm just going to mix these up together and then wait for our liquid to be nice and lukewarm. Yes, you guys can wait, because I want you guys
What
to...
is lukewarm?
Lukewarm
for
is just
idiots
below
like
body.
me.
Yes, lukewarm is just below body temperature. It means that you can stick your finger into that liquid without feeling it burn.
Okay.
As long as you can hold your finger in there for at least 10 seconds, then you know that it's warm enough and not too cold, because we also don't want it to be too cold. That's perfect. I don't want to warm it up even more.
Dumi, whilst you are busy, Dumi, we also want to get busy too. I love the fact, though, that you are going in quite great detail and in depth about how to create that delicious dough, because at the end of the day, it is all about the dough. But on our station, we're also decorating. So when Dumi's dough is done, if you were to fast forward, it would look something like this. Now, Dumi, what I like about this dough, it's quite nice, compact, dense, and it came together quite nicely.
Yes,
so this is the consistency we're looking for.
That's the consistency we need. And like with bread dough we just did with the couscous earlier, you want to let it rest to develop the yeast and the gluten in there. So it has been proved and rested for about an hour. Once that is done, it makes it more pliable. I don't even want to know what you guys had said. You can actually start decorating. I think the fun must begin
it would
now.
be nice. Okay, you know what? I think that this is what the challenge is all about. We are making something beautiful. We are making something botanical and something very flavorful. It is all about women this month. We are celebrating a Women's Month-inspired Afternoon Express Masterclass, and we're celebrating flavors, we're celebrating aromatics, and all things that come together in the kitchen. We are every woman, which means we can put together every type of flavors. So absolutely, Ingrid. I think if we were to just roll this out, maybe to whatever shape you would like, it is about being...
I was going to go for a mountain. I see you going there for something flat, but okay, let's do this.
So you are just going to just like this. This is good for you.
No, there was a nice mountain here.
No, we're making a focaccia. So what I want to ask you, you seem quite creative, and it also seems like you're not afraid of expressing yourself. So let's see how you can express yourself in this recipe by creating something beautiful and adding all the different elements that Dumi has put in front here for us. Dumi, I see some flour, I see some sugar, we've got olives, we've got tomato, we've also got some red pepper and more aromatics here. I see mint, and what else, Dums?
Well, so we've got some sage there, we've got some red onions, we've got some chives. So in essence, it's about creating somewhat of a bit of a garden in front of you, So whatever your mind tells you, get creative,
Okay.
Listen, there was a woman on this lockdown group that one morning when I woke up, that 4 o'clock thing, and so I saw something round, which I assumed was firstly something mural. And then when I started reading what it was actually this thing called, what you call, did you call it?
Botanical focaccia.
See? I thought it was a mural. And like, how do you eat it with it's so beautifully done? But let me stop talking, otherwise I'm going to have a... So if you could be a flavor, are you a flavor? What would you be?
We discussed this. I love Ingrid because she is right on the money here, because that's what we want to find out from all of our strong, independent women out there. What type of flavor are you in the kitchen? Now, we are bringing out our inner children in the loft, trying to create a beautiful masterpiece when it comes to this focaccia. So, I don't know, I think we've got our challenge right up. Are you ready for this challenge?
I'm like, can't you see moving?
You're doing it. In fact, I even want to take it as far as to saying myself and Ingrid are going to put together this beautiful masterpiece, really getting our children-like energy out there. So we want to find out from you.
But I also want to win, so...
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
I actually want to put up a poll on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook to see who has the prettiest focaccia.
Not the prettiest, the most creative.
Okay.
All right, the most creative. That sounds fair. That sounds right about fair. But at the end of the day, we are celebrating the hero ingredient, which is that Clover Good Hope soy milk. It is also preservative-free, as well as a source of protein and good nutritional value. The Clover Good Hope soy milk is high in omega-3s and also low in sodium. So, all those mamas with high, they can get some of this. Hey, Dumi.
Definitely, Palesa. And I also love the fact that, like you said, you can get all that protein from it. It's flavored, it's lightly sweetened as well, Palesa. And all of that comes from whole soybeans that were used to make this beautiful Clover Good Hope soy milk. So it's perfect as a milk replacement, as a dairy replacement in any recipe of your choice.
Okay, I'm kind of stressed because I feel like I'm not even halfway through my decoration. She's trying to steal my decoration, and I'm just going to do this.
I was going to mess it up, but...
It's all about creativity here.
I'm going to be the South African... What are our artists? You quoted some overseas people here. What are our South African artists?
We've got Nelson
Pierneef.
Nkomo.
I think I'm Pierneefing some stuff.
And I think I'm Nelsoning it out. And just like that, Dumi, this is how we put together our beautiful botanical focaccia bread. Something cute, something flavorful, but something for all the ladies. To get this recipe, head over to afternoonexpress.co.za. Let's get cooking.
Soy goodness from nature. Source of plant protein. Naturally cholesterol-free. Lactose-free. Made with love by Clover.
Dumi, as we're putting the finishing touches on our beautiful art pieces, how long does this go in the oven for?
So this can go into the oven for 30 minutes, at least for 30 minutes at 180 degrees. You can turn it up to a notch to 190 just to get that beautiful golden brown color on the outside.
Beautiful. Ingrid, as a curator, are you also learning some skills in the kitchen today?
Yeah, I'm looking at your skill over there. I'm not sure, ne? But I did learn something about you're not supposed to put the what on top of the what?
The salt into on the yeast because it kills the yeast.
I learned that. I also learned that you can use mountains as well as flat land to do this. And that, and the whole thing about this herby thing that one forgets that you can put the healthy stuff on top of the bread instead of just eating a piece of carbs and then look like me instead of you.
Well, on that note, Mzansi on social media, we have not forgotten about you. We want to know who's a powerful woman you wish you could share a meal with and what would be on the menu. Please remember to use that hashtag Afternoon Express in all of your comments. But we are not done with all the fun. When we return, we're giving lamb chops a fresh boost as we add some green beans, feta, and mint.
Express yourself.
our masterclass. Now, we are about halfway through our recipes and we're having so much fun with our guest, Ingrid Jones. She's a TV presenter, a radio personality, but more importantly today, she is a cookbook curator who is helping us through step by step everything that we're creating today. So, Dumi, you looking forward to it?
I definitely am, Palisa, and to make sure that Ingrid has the right tools, I'm going to make sure I switch on her stove.
Just in case I don't know where to put it on the stove.
Because she's on the lamb duty, Palisa. This next recipe here has got lamb, has got a whole lot of beautiful things, so we need to make sure that that pan is nice and hot.
Excited for that. Now, we do love juicy lamb chops, and when you add some elite taste, elite texture, and elite quality with the addition of clover feta cheese, then it's even better. So hold on to your seats because we're making tender lamb chops with green beans, feta, and mint. Now, you've been talking about these green beans, girl.
The whole day.
The whole day. So we're excited to just have a taste of it. So, Dumi, what do we need?
Palisa, for the green beans, because what we're doing is that we're heightening up the green beans. We're not giving you basic green beans. We're putting some flavor into them. We've got some blanched green beans over here that we're going to top with a beautiful crumbly clover feta cheese, which brings that elite flavor to it, you know, that elite punch, which is what we want. We're going to then put some toasted almonds, some breadcrumbs, some red chili flakes, and some salt, and put somewhat of a crumble base on the top of these green beans, and then serve them with our beautiful lamb chops that Ingrid is going to be making for us.
Beautiful. Ready for the oil?
All right, so I think it is perfect now to add your oil in there.
How much?
You can add about a half of that. That's perfect, yes.
Okay.
And then what we're going to do then is going to let that heat up perfectly. You can actually start seasoning your lamb chops with some of the salt, and then chuck in some of the black peppers into the oil because we want the flavor of the black oil.
See, I learned something more.
The flavor of the black pepper, but we don't actually want it on our lamb chops because we're going to be getting all that black pepper flavor from our elite clover feta cheese.
Elite mousse.
Aye, what's it, vamos? That's how we roll in this kitchen.
Elevating the game. And you know what, Ingrid? We are celebrating flavors. So on my side, I'm zesting some lemon for Dumi, and I've also got some mint. Now, Dumi, how does this play a part to that finished product?
Palisa, the lamb and mint are like a match made in heaven. And normally the lamb would be cooked in the mint, but in this instance, we want that mint to, you know, to sort of pair so well with the flavors of what we're making here. So that fresh mint together with the you know, the beautiful flavor of the clover, elite flavor of our clover black pepper. Because you know it comes in different kinds of flavor. It comes in the plain, it comes in the herby, but we're using the black pepper today. And that's the one we want to use. Because of that beautiful crumbly texture that it has, it works perfectly for this recipe we have. And I'm also just going to start chopping my almonds that are going to go on the top with this crumble that we're making over here.
Beautiful. Okay. So
Can I steal your knife? Because
Please
this
do.
was my mother. She would have done this. She's like, girl, no. You need to cut that off.
Okay.
See, I'm teaching you something today.
Wow. But now I have to ask a question. Before we get into the greens and the vegetables of this dish, I just want to touch base with the protein. I love fat on my meat.
Yeah.
But your mother taught you to take off that fat.
No. Just keep the numbering, the grading of the meat.
Oh, the grading.
You know, she said get that off, but I'm like you, I love the fat. But the thing about the numbers on it is that that's where you can see the grade of the meat. A1, A2, however it is that you want it to be. But it's just, she just said that don't give me the number. I don't want the number.
Take it off. Right, so now that our protein is ready to go, Ingrid is just searing it there, making sure that it's brown and cooked all out. Dumi, you mentioned a process here that a lot of South Africans, or rather some South Africans are familiar with, but some South Africans are not as familiar with, and that has to do with the green beans. You spoke about blanching them. Now, can you just talk us through the process of blanching?
Perfect, Palisa. As you can see, these are a beautiful, vibrant green color. They haven't gone an odd green color. The reason for that is what you do is you take your green beans, make sure you've got a nice pot of boiling water still bubbling away. You add your green beans into that liquid immediately. Let it bubble away for at least, I'm going to say a minute, not longer than that because you still want them to cook through. So you let them boil in that liquid. You take the liquid out, you take the green beans immediately out of that hot water and straight into a bowl of ice cold water with some ice in there. And then what that does is that it stops the cooking process immediately. Yes, there'll be some residual heat, but it'll stop the cooking process immediately. immediately, and you maintain a beautiful crunchy green bean and that beautiful green color that you've got on there.
Girl, because nobody wants some soggy green beans that are overcooked. We want them crunchy, we want them delicious, and we want to make sure that the nutrients is still inside there. So, Tumi, I chopped up a little bit of mint for you. Here's the mint, or rather the mint should stay on the meat station.
You can bring it this side, Balasa, because we're going to toss it on top of our mixture here that we've got for our...
Okay, brilliant.
Brown. She's sabotaging me over here.
Forever sabotaging. Tumi, please may you just grab some of this. That's some of that lemon juice. Here's some lemon zest. And then here is some mint. And as you are crumbing that delicious clover feta cheese onto those green beans, I just have to remind everyone that the clover feta cheese packs a punch of flavor and our green beans on the most elite way, and that's essentially what it is all about. We're making sure that the nutrients are covered, the flavors are all in there as we are celebrating and highlighting all things around women in Women's Month. I'm so proud of you. Those look delicious.
I'm just worried there's like an explosion happening here. More worried about, there's it off now, thank you. Because I'm thinking like something...
Good to turn it off.
It's all good. Now, Balisa, into these green beans, we've cooked them off. All I'm going to do is I'm going to add some lemon juice to it, and then when those lamb chops come, we're just going to set them over here, and that dish is complete, and it looks absolutely divine.
What was in here again?
We just added some butter into some almonds, some breadcrumbs. We've got some feta. We also had some red chili flakes and some salt.
Oh, this looks delicious.
And just like that, delicious is what it's all about. To get this recipe, head over to afternoonexpress.co.za.
Clover cheese is for those who love life, where everything falls into place and melts away our cares, adding joy and stretching our imagination. Elite quality, elite taste, elite texture.
Made with love by Clover.
When we return, we're elevating pudding as we know it. Because when we come back, we're infusing it with irresistible aromatics and flavor.
Express yourself.
back to Afternoon Express, where we are ready for a classic, a South African classic. Ingrid, as our guest, I want to find out from you before we get started, are you a fan of a good rice pudding?
I actually am. Also taught by my mother, not taught, sorry. She made it and we eat it. And there was always this anomaly that you can eat rice as a pudding.
Yeah.
But it's really good. It's like bread pudding, bread as a pudding, but rice is good.
And you are right on the money, because some desserts are timeless and can best be enjoyed any time of the year. And one such dish is a rice pudding. Our Excella rice pudding promises to pack loads of flavor and leave you smiling from ear to ear. Dumi, that's what I'm all about, smiling from ear to ear.
That's what I'm all about, Balisa, making sure you smile from ear to ear. And to make this beautiful Excella rice pudding, Balisa, we're starting off with the main ingredient, which is our Excella rice. Now, normally if you'd be making rice, you'd want to put the liquid in first and let the rice boil and stuff like that. But we're doing it a little differently. I've got my stove on here, and I'm going to start by, because we're making it a bit more aromatic. So, you know, we've been talking about the flavors of the women. Now we're talking those aromatic flavors now, because we're going to be using some star anise, we're going to be using some cinnamon.
Those are two very potent ones, so that's why you're not using a lot of it.
Exactly. You see, on the money, on the money. And lastly, I just added 1 clove into that. And what we're going to do is we're toasting the rice and the rice and the aromatics together, because what we want in essence is we want that flavor to come through, so that when we add the liquid in, all it just does is it just gets absorbed into our Excella rice.
You're a professional, so non-professionals, a cup you just poured, is that a cup?
That was a cup.
Oh, see, okay.
I love the fact, though, that you eyeballed it, because a lot of people just, you know, you're going to throw it in the bag, and some people is me, I'm talking about me, I just kind of eyeball it. But what's so special about Excella rice is that it's nutritious, it cooks fluffy and white every single time, and it is ideal for any dish. And that same 1 cup that Utumi has put in the pot, as it cooks through, it gives you 2 cups of cooked rice, and it's perfect for the entire family. So trust me, everyone's going to be fed.
Well, just me in the middle. See, you and me.
I know you're not here just to look pretty, Ingrid. We want you to do some work for us as well.
It smells very good, eh?
Exactly right. You can smell those aromatics already. So you just need to get the custard ready, because a rice pudding is not complete without that custardy texture, right? And so all you need is to add some of those eggs. You can look that way, but I'm here to get you working.
Custard comes out of a box. What is happening
Not in the
here?
Afternoon Express kitchen. So you can add some eggs into that bowl you've got over there. Yeah, just whisk it. Yeah. And then some eggs, some of your milk, some cream, some sugar, and then you can add the vanilla essence and the raisins into there. So in essence, what's going to happen is those flavors that you've got over there are going to marry well with the flavors of the aromatics we've got in here. I think it's the perfect time to actually add the water now. And we're going to let this bubble away and cook to those 2 cups that Balisa was talking about a little earlier.
And on my side, I've just been chopping away some nuts because I just do love to add texture to my rice pudding. A lot of people do think that rice pudding can almost be like baby food, you know, almost mushy. So sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of a crunch. So I had the easy job. I just
You were just referencing yourself right there. I'm natty on top. Kaibu.
Ingrid, where do we even find her? But I love your energy, I love your spirit, and just everything that you are about. It's Women's Month, so we are celebrating every type of woman. And some people say women can't have a sense of humor. Well, I'm going to put Ingrid in your face. Now, Ingrid, how's it going there? You're busy making jokes.
I don't know. What must I do next? Okay, so the eggs are done.
Next, you can add some sugar and then some of the cream and milk that you've got there. That is fine. That's enough.
See?
And,
okay, and then?
Half of the milk, half of the cream, and you can also whisk all of that together. While you do that, Balisa, I've just added, so this is our rice that's now cooked. Yeah. I've just added some more aromatics to it. I've just added some nutmeg and some butter, because we want it to be nice and luxurious when we add it into this mixture over here. So I'm going to get started and plate it into our baking dish, and then you will just pour that custard over all of this, and we're going to get it baking.
It's the first time in my life.
And it looks so good.
Yeah,
I mean,
bigger than the box.
I want to almost move everything aside so everyone can see the consistency of that custard. Yep, we're zooming in. Dumi, when it comes to all the other ingredients, can I just plop that in Ingrid's? There we go, just like that.
See,
Okay.
you are the spice on top, mostly.
The spice on top, it's what it's all about. And if you want to get your hands on this recipe, it's mouth-watering. Don't worry, because all you need to do is head over to afternoonexpress.co.za because Dumi has beautifully curated the ingredients and recipe list for you. Now, I hope that you've definitely been taking notes and learning as we have been creating masterpieces in the kitchen. Ingrid is a cookbook curator, but here she is putting on the chef's hat, making sure that we nail every single recipe. So, Dumi, Ingrid, how long do we need to make sure that this beauty is perfect?
That baby goes in there at 190 degrees for at least 35 minutes, Ballis.
I love it. Now, coming up, we've got yet another delightful story in our own words, and then we'll be enjoying our lockdown meal with Ingrid.
Express yourself.
Over the past few weeks, Cadbury Dairy Milk set out to ignite the generosity found in all South Africans with their hashtag In Our Own Words initiative, aimed to inspire a love for reading among children across the country by making books in their home language more accessible. Today, we want to take a moment to thank everyone who took their time to translate their words by reading one of African language storybooks that will get published in isiNdebele. Good afternoon, Sophie.
Afternoon. Thank you.
Sophie, I'm very excited to hear the story that you're about to narrate for us in isiNdebele, so take it away.
Esikhathini esiningi indalo zenilwane ziphila ngokuzwana. Kodwana lokha ubulwembu nakuthatha amadonga waso amaningi. Zisebenzisa wonke umoya zingawashiyeli litho ama-lobster. Ukuphephisa abantwana babo ama-lobster amadala abathumela ekhambeni elikhulu lokuyofuna umoya emhlabeni ongaphezulu. Lokho kwaba buthapha. uLerato noLunga bayazi bonyana ama-lobster angeke aphile emhlabeni ongaphezulu. uLerato watshela uLunga, ngizakuwisa amaqephe aphazimako endleleni ngokusihlahla lokha nasibuyako. Kuthe bonyana ama-lobster amadala ajike, abantwana bathola indlela yokubuyela emadongeni wabo. Abadala bazama godu, kodwana uLunga wabuza ijellyfish, sibawa nisihlahle ukubuyela ekhaya ngamalamba wemisila yenu. Kodwana amaproni adla ikrili emnandi. Silahleke ngelwandle, babona indlwanyana esikwere izele izinto ezimnandi. Badla. Sizani urhwelela uLunga, kusho uLerato. uLerato wenza iqhinga. Lokha izimuzimu naliguga indlwana le, uLerato waliguqula uthubhahuru walo omkhulu ngeklipa yakhe ekulu. Izimuzimu lawisa indlwana lase liyarhuwelela. Uthubhahulu okundukileyo wehla wawela phasi eduze kwamadwala. Wonke amanye ama-lobster athuthela emadwaleni amatsha lapho kade kunomoya owaneleko nokudla kwabo bonke.
I think that story speaks quite truly. It's very, very close to isiZulu, so I was almost kind of following on. But for all of our viewers who don't understand isiNdebele, can you give us a brief summary of what the story was about?
The story was about animals who living on a sea. Those animals they're talking about, it's a lobster and prawns. You see on the sea, there's something inside the cream. I don't know what we call.
Is it seaweed?
It's living under those. Those animals were living there. So that thing were moving. So that animal, it didn't have a place to stay.
So, Sophie, before we say goodbye to you, we want to thank you for being involved in Cadbury's incredible campaign. And not only that, City Happy Women's Month. Now, we'd like to extend a huge thank you to everyone who participated, whether you generously translated your words or shared an initiative with the family and friends. It has all helped to make more enchanting African language tales available to children in our own words. Visit www.cadbury.co.za and at Cadbury Dairy Milk SA on Facebook or at Cadbury_SA on Twitter and Instagram to start enjoying these stories with your loved ones and keep your eyes open for more ways to get involved. Let's get into the delicious Women's Month inspired masterclass meal. Now, Dumi, we've created amazingness when it comes to the menu today. Can you just recap what we made?
Sure, Pala. So quickly, just on our table, we've got some lamb chops that we made, served with a beautiful green bean salad there, topped with some feta cheese. We made our beautiful botanical focaccia that we decorated so beautifully. We made some kusisters tossed in some desiccated coconut, and then we also made a delicious aromatic rice pudding, Balasa. And I think it's safe to say that all the different flavors are there. You know, we've got the flavor of the rosemary, we've got the flavor of the aromatics, we've got the flavor of the mint, we've got the flavor of the cinnamon in our kusisters. So I think we're touching on some type of woman over here on our plates.
Listen, every type of woman, and I'm here for it. I'm getting everything here. I'm getting some dessert.
First?
Well, you know, I'm just dishing it out.
The nutty bit, ne?
Comes out
embroidering
again.
on your theme there.
Because I'm a little bit of a nutter when it comes to everything that I'm about. But no, okay, let's focus more on yourself and everything that you've accomplished. And not only that, just the masterpiece you've helped us put together today on the table. There's just so much we can discuss when it has to do with inspiration, your work, and not only your work, but all the energy you've brought to Afternoon Express this afternoon.
Listen, it was lovely playing with you too, really, indeed. What this table reminds me of as I'm sitting here and I'm looking at it, it's called, what the book is all about, Kom Vandaan food. It means where we come from. So on this table, for example, is the hearty pudding that reminds of the good old days. There's the meat and the very fancy salad nowadays. Over here, there's bread and there's couscous. So this literally is a Kom Vandaan story happening right there. So you guys have read me right.
Read you right. Yeah. And I'm so glad that you did discuss our history and specifically your history, because I love to give all of my guests a little bit of a quiz, a trivia quiz, just to see how sharp you are.
Or whether I listened in class.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Dumi, as you're diving in, are you ready?
I'm ready, Bali.
Okay, this is our trivia question. I want to find out from you, what was the first country that granted women the right to vote?
You?
The first country.
First country in the entire world.
In the entire world?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
The answer is New Zealand. In 1893, New Zealand was the first self-governing country in the world which all women had the right to vote in. So salute to New Zealand.
We just want to say from a South African and African perspective, we know our history here first. So ons staan van die New Zealanders, but we understand why we have Women's Month in this particular country, because we've got a long way to go.
We do have a long way to go, but we do salute you for all your accomplishments that you've made, not only in your industry, but being able to transform your work into something absolutely revolutionary that we're able to celebrate quite sincerely here on Afternoon Express. Thank you so much, Ingrid, for joining us. And Dumi, thank you for cooking up a masterpiece. Now, we are every woman. We've got it all in us. And if you are inspired by any of this week's recipes, or you want a recap of any of the amazing tips that we gave, just tune in to our repeats on Saturday morning on 8:30. Be sure to join us again on Tuesdays and Thursdays next week at 5:30 p.m. as we go fishing and feast on seafood with renowned fishmonger Julia Carter. But until then, Mzansi, good night, stay safe, and happy eating. Goodbye. Say it with steaming hot breakfasts, soul food Sundays, and slow-cooked dinners that'll warm any winter. Made with love by Clover.
Another feel-good production.